seconds, I think. Hello, 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 and welcome to PitchZone, a very, very special PitchZone today, because it's one of those where we do not do a review of a pitch, but rather sit together with all of the coaches and have a fireside chat about, well, the topic today is persuasion, selling versus persuading. And it's a great, great pleasure to do this fireside chat and have this conversation with three extraordinary individuals that all know a thing or two about persuading, and persuading in a softer way. Selling without selling. So let's bring in the first one, which is my dear friend, Nathan Gold. Nathan, how are you today?
Fantastic. Doing great. Happy to see the sun here in California and no earthquakes today.
No earthquakes, no snow, no rain, sunny. Beautiful.
Nope.
But a little on the chilly side, I hear.
Yep, a little bit chilly, but we can handle that.
All right, all right. Nathan, should we bring in the coach number 2?
Absolutely. 3.
Scottie.
Scottie, you're a coach
Spurzem.
too.
Yeah, sometimes. Scottie, how are you today? You are in California as well?
I am.
Yeah.
Yep, I am well. The sun is up.
Yeah.
So just coming up, and it feels like spring just popped around here, which is really great.
Nice. So I really have to thank both of you, actually, because, you know, we always say, yeah, from California, but people may not realize that you're actually getting out of bed a little earlier than usual just for this session here. It's 7 a.m., 7:15 a.m., right? So thanks a lot for that extra effort. And let's bring in coach number 3 or 4, however you're counting. The 4th person on the screen here, Susan. Susan, always such a great, great pleasure to see you.
It is so good to be here with you guys. And I'm just sitting here thinking, darn, I'm glad I'm on the East Coast.
Yes. Tell me about it, right? And you know, for me, it's actually evening. It's 9 p.m. in the evening. So, and this is what I love about the world we are living in today. You know, it's the time zones. They don't really matter all that much anymore, because the way we are using technology, you know, we can do our work whenever we want and whenever we feel best and whenever we are in top form. So let me also bring in a couple of comments here. Say hello to our viewers on YouTube. Rick Pollack, as always, a great pleasure seeing your name here. We also have Kevin Minier. Kevin, wonderful to have you here. Thank you for making time out of your day. And then we have Avanti from Stockholm. Wow, this is what I love, right? This international panel of coaches talking to an international audience. Kevin, for example, he is from the UK, right? So we have people all over the places. And then, of course, we also have, well, not of course, but we do have Scott Peak here. Scott as well from Colorado. So a couple more, and we're covering more and more of the time zones here. So let's get this rolling. And I am always so happy when Susan Trumpler is in the house to talk about persuasion, because Susan is the author of the book. Well, Susan, do you want to say?
Yes, it's what's gotten me banned off of Facebook ads. The name of the book is Oh Shit, I'm in Sales. And it is literally born out of this subject, because I have so many women business owners, who's my primary audience, who have a passion for bringing their talents to the world. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, shit, I have to sell? And it strikes a heart of fear in them. And my entire reason for being right now is to help people understand you don't have to be a pushy salesperson. I hear the words pushy. I don't want to be cheesy. I don't want to be sleazy. Oh my goodness. There's just so much in people's minds around their experiences of being sold and how they don't want to go about doing it that way. So this is just my favorite topic, and I thank you for the invite today.
Oh, it is such a great pleasure. Truly, truly, truly. And I'm also very, very happy that today we are having actually a very balanced panel here of coaches. It's the first time where we are not such a male-dominated screen here. You know, I often kid with Nathan. I say, Nathan, you know, this PitchZone, I love what we are doing, but, you know, it looks a little bit like an old man's club. You know, we need a little bit more different and diverse voices here. So this is why I am so thankful that you both could make the time this morning, because especially when it comes to sales and to persuasion, I think there is a distinct advantage that you're bringing to the table, and that is to drop a lot of the pushiness that perhaps, you know, the testosterone-driven population is, you know, used to for whatever reason. So again, Susan, I'm so happy that you are here. And I want to start the entire discussion off with you, because your book is, you know, a treasure trove for anybody that wants to learn how to persuade with ease. If you had to give one tip to somebody that maybe just is starting out in their career, or they're changing their field and they want to go into sales officially, formally, because the title of your book basically gives it away. We are all in sales, right? But what would that number one tip be?
Yeah, the number one tip that I have for everyone that I work with is stop thinking about sales as a pushing event. Okay, so they're like, I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to be greedy, right? And so when your mindset has this picture of sales, it's literally you invading someone's mind and space with something they don't want. And that is, I mean, that's the ultimate used car salesperson analogy that you sometimes hear. Oh, I don't want to be a used car salesperson. Well, what is that person trying to do? It's all about them. It's all about, I'm gonna sell this clunker, this piece of junk, to the next victim that comes along. And that is the opposite of what you should be doing in promoting what you do, the value you bring someone. So even if you look at the basis of what persuasion is, the very foundation of persuasion is changing someone's beliefs through helping them see the value of why they should think a little bit differently about where their perspective is today on a particular subject. Okay, that's persuasion. And so everyone has, if you are, I'm going to put a caveat on this. If you're good at what you do and you're passionate about the value you bring to people, you should be able to communicate in a way that connects what it is they want to the value that you can bring them, and persuade them to see a different way to think about it, which includes you in the picture. That's selling, and that's persuasion.
Yep. Well, and I would add also, it's really important to know your audience and know your own qualifications, obviously. But I remember when I got my Series 7 to, you know, when I was working in the stock brokerage business, and that's the number one rule, certainly when you have fiduciary responsibility, to know your audience. But also, if you know what your audience is facing, you can help them solve their problem with not what you're selling, but what you're offering, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's what can you offer that will help improve their issues. And the other thing I like to do is try to elicit from them what they think they need. And then I can affirm it or correct it depending on where my skill set fits and whether, you know, if I'm selling my services, if you will, whether I'm the right fit or not. So sometimes I will turn away an opportunity if it's really not the right fit for me or for them. And what's wonderful when that happens is people will often come back to you because you have been a legitimate source of information for them.
Oh, Scottie, that's brilliant. I love what you say regarding it being a good fit, because that's another thing that we have that causes us to go outside of that zone of persuasion and into selling. It's the scarcity of, oh, I have to get a yes from this person. I need this business. I need this sale. And I think if you can change, again, that perspective to an abundance mentality, there are millions of people out there who really need what you offer. And it's your job to find them and, like you said, know them well enough to be able to determine whether or not you're a good fit and be willing to walk away if you're not, because man, there's nothing that adds more credibility to you in anyone's eyes than the integrity that comes with, I'm not here just for the money. I'm here to make a difference in your life.
Yeah, and speaking of the money, that I believe is one of the biggest distinctions between people that go into sales versus the rest of the people out there that are trying to learn how to be persuasive, to get people to believe in whatever they're saying and get them to think differently, like you've just said, or lean in towards your approach versus somebody else's. So I can definitely, at my age, I can tell you, used car salespeople have been around forever, and they have truly given a bad name to the sales world. And there's hundreds of jokes about how can you tell when a salesperson is lying, right? And all kinds of things like that. So I personally believe if you're going to go into sales and call yourself a salesperson or a biz dev person, you have to have pretty thick skin. And those people typically are going into that business to make a lot of money, in my opinion. You go into sales because you want to make maybe you want to have an unlimited ability to make money in that year, where most of us, we get our salary or we have a limit about what we make. But sales gives you that opportunity to sell, increase your income, blast your quota, go to President's Club. Personally, I think those people are motivated quite differently than the average person who wants to get people to take action in their direction. So the persuasiveness, that the difference between the two, I think is just really clear, at least in my mind. And for those people who are afraid of sales, don't even go there. Just accept the fact that you need to work on your persuasion skills. Persuasion skills are something you can literally fine-tune and learn about for the rest of your life. It's not something you just learn in a day or two or read a book in a day and then you go out and you be persuasive. And this book by Robert Cialdini is still the Bible for being persuasive. The 6 principles that he talks about in this book from 1983, when I read that book, I thought, oh, wow, this is amazing. And then the thing is, you all know about the 6 principles of persuasion already. And when you get the background from this author, you start to realize, wow, it's not as hard as I thought it was. Most of us are sort of persuasive already. We get what we want since we were kids. Mom, I want this. Give me this. Give me this. Give me this. And eventually you get it because you either persuade them or you become annoying. Either way, you get. I'm just ranting a little bit here, but I really feel that if you're going to call yourself a salesperson, you got to own it. Otherwise, the rest of us, you can take techniques from sales and objection handling and all those wonderful things that it teaches you to do. And I think it was either Susan or Scottie, I can't remember now, said, or maybe it was Claudio, to soften your approach to whomever you're trying to do business with.
So I have a question for you, Nathan.
Okay.
Okay, because I want to make sure that I understood where you were coming from. Regarding money motivating selling, are you saying that, because you mentioned, the sellers are motivated to make their quota, bust their quota, make sales, President's Club, whatever it might be, and that drives you to use tactics, in essence, that are closer to the used car salesman? Or in only if you're altruistic, am I seeding this? Only if you're altruistic and going out for the value you can bring someone, are you able to then be able to step away from that and persuade or influence someone? Are those things tied together for you?
Yes, very much tied together. Oh, most definitely. You know, the
Oh
people that are
my.
using selling techniques can often
Mm,
be, you see through them. I think that's what happens. People are using a technique on you to try to sell you, to try to get you to buy something. It's a transaction. With persuasion, it's more of a relational process where one party is trying to build trust or rapport with the other to influence their behavior.
mhm.
And so when you're doing that, you're not trying to make money necessarily. You're trying to get people down the road. I mean, eventually you might ask for an order, but the value part of it, I'm not making sense today. The value
No,
part of what you've said is key. If you can
yeah,
demonstrate the value of whatever you are selling, then the buyer in general should want to buy it because you have proven the value that they can get from it.
I agree.
So,
And there's one last thing I have to add on that. I love money and I want to make a ton of money. And I am unabashedly proud of the fact that money motivates me. And I still will not sell to the wrong person. I will not. I sell value and relationship, and I work my tail off to find the right people who are a good fit for me. So I maybe I'm an oddball in the group here, but
mm-mm.
I agree with you 100%. People can sniff out cheesy sales tactics in a heartbeat. The internet has provided so much knowledge and information. The typical buyer today knows before they even connect with you whether or not they're going to trust you, whether or not you've got something that will help their problem. That is why we're all doing digital marketing and we're out there doing things like this. So people understand who we are. But
Mm-hmm.
to pull out cheesy sales tactics, absolutely not. But to navigate through conversations that help understand what it is they need and the value you can share and connect those pieces. And it's a win-win at the end of the day. They get what they want and I get what I want. And it's a good thing. And my people know. They're like, they know the value that I have and I can bring to them and they don't mind paying me.
I love this distinction so much, Susan. And no, you are not an oddball at all, because I think you just are perhaps a little bit ahead of the time, because I think what you are describing is gonna be the sales model, the sales mode of now going forward, right? It's that,
Mm-hmm.
and Kevin put this very, very nicely here in the chat. He put selling, persuading is about matchmaking the
Yes.
person's need and desires to the product and service outcomes, not the features, but the outcomes. And this is the value, I think, that we are all talking about, right? And it's sometimes so difficult to get anybody who wants to persuade somebody to actually get their mind to really shift over into what does it really, really mean versus what does it do or what is it? And I think I have probably out of 10 coaching sessions, in 9, I have to work a little bit on either a founder's or an executive's mindset to get them to really, really see themselves. And we are going back to, I think we talked about this perhaps in the last session, we talked about this, into this guide position, when we go back to the hero's journey, that as a salesperson, you're not there
You're not the
to
hero.
save, you're right, to save somebody's day or save somebody's business or save somebody. No, you're not. You're simply there to help them on their journey. And that journey typically is a journey of transformation, whatever they transform, right? They are here right now and they want to be over there. And there is some level of transformation there. Now, Susan, you said something very, very profound before, and that is about dropping customers or dropping prospects, right? When you see that there is not a good fit. And I think this is something that a lot of people struggle with. It's that there are two ways to play tennis, right? One is very, very strategic and save your energy and really, really make the most out of those balls that you know can be a winner. And the other one is you chase every single ball. But after 60 minutes or so, your tongue is dragging on the floor and you are out of breath, right? So, Susan, what are your thoughts when it comes to letting go of those that you don't see a fit, but there's something perhaps in the way that allows a person to successfully do that?
Yeah. And I was really riffing off of what Scottie brought into this. So I'd love to hear her take on this as well. But I want everybody to think about a client that didn't work out well. Like, I know people like to use the phrase, I fired my client. I just, that makes me want to like, it's a rough phrase. I don't want to fire anybody, but there are certain clients you work with that it's not a good fit. The engagement doesn't go well. There's this kind of, you're trying to, you're Gumby. You're bending and twisting yourself and what you do to form something that will make a difference to them. And that feels horrible on both sides. So it took me, I had to learn that actually before I was able to drop back into that abundance mode where, and I love what you've got, the comment you've got up there that Daniel put up, where you really work with someone during your discovery call to understand what is the gap, like where are they right now, and do they feel enough pain that they would be willing to do something about closing that gap between where they are and where they're going. And then the next question is this a fit? Does what I do and bring out to the world close that gap for that person? Am I a perfect fit? Are we a good fit to work together? Obviously, there's some ideal client characteristics you look for too, but really it is all about like really understanding and being willing to release that need that we all have to be successful. It is innate in us. We want to win, right? So if you're going into these, kind of engagements with someone to understand, and you're letting that human characteristic of hunter, oh, I'm going to kill my prey and I'm going to drag it home to the cave. If you can let that go and say, there are so many antelope out there. If this antelope doesn't feed me today, the next one that comes running by my cave is going to be just fine. If you can go with that, then what you're doing is you're releasing that sleazy, pushy energy that people will just like repel people from you. And you're opening up a more of a hey, this is the way I like to say it to my clients. You have to release what the outcome is going to be. Release that and yet still want it. It's the balance between those two things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you use that phrase, eat what you kill, because sole proprietors do that. I don't know how many we have in the audience, but you're right. It is a fine line. And curiously enough, Nathan, I picked this book up again, which is the same old guy we've talked about, and thought I would, peruse it. And getting back to what I said originally, like knowing your audience, I honestly think preparation is key as well. I often will do a little bit of homework on people I meet with, even though it's just, for an introductory call. I want to know generally what they're about, what their business is about. I'll check them out on LinkedIn. If they're not there, then I'm at a disadvantage when I first meet somebody. But I think really preparing for your meeting and knowing what you think you can bring to it is huge, because then you can elicit from them what it is that they need and get back to the fit. I know I'm kind of repeating myself, but I wanted to shift the subject a little bit, if I may, to not just persuading to make a sale, but persuading to get through a business project. I've worked with a lot of project managers in multiple industries, and often people are asking about these very difficult conversations and how do you negotiate your way through them. You're trying to get a client to turn the Queen Mary in a different direction, and it takes time and it's complicated, and you've got teams that you're working with. So how do you persuade people to open their minds to different ideas? And part of it, again, is that the questioning, like maybe it's Socratic. The Socratic method, I think, is a great way to get to the root of what people may be going through. And then as you query them, they can lead themselves to realize that yes, you are the right fit for it. But it's a dance. Those conversations are a dance, and you always have to take into account, and also how they will receive what you are saying. So I'm pausing and watching the other coaches nod, which is awesome. But you also have to pause and let them say things. So on to you, Nathan, I think. But just wanted to, if you don't mind, switch that up a little bit.
Yeah. One of the things that happens in my solopreneurship over the last 15 years is people call me out of the blue. They try to interview me to be their coach, or they try to convince me to be their coach. And I have made a couple of mistakes of accepting a client that I knew in my gut it wasn't going to go well. And it didn't 2 times. What I mean by it didn't go well is, well, I won't give you all the details, but it turns out that in my belief, and I know that some people, even on this line with us right now, never believed in this word, but there are people out there who I categorize as uncoachable. Uncoachable. And I, after all these years, I can smell them in that discovery meeting. I'm giving away some of my stuff to everybody in the world, but if you're watching this, you call me up within 10 to 20 minutes. I know 99% whether it's going to work or not. And I know this because of how you speak to me, how you ask me questions, how you respond to my questions. Do you interrupt me? Are you a blocker? Are you an acceptor? And, all these things become very obvious to me when I'm in a discovery call. And I will tell you, if it doesn't feel right, I will say so. I will say, I'm sorry, I just don't think I'm the best fit for you. And if they say why, I will generally make up a reason such as, well, I have a list of 10 reasons, but usually it's because you don't have a compelling event coming up. If you don't have a date on the calendar where you have a TED talk or a TEDx talk or an investor pitch that it's a, do or die kind of thing, or a keynote, if you don't have something like that coming up in my world, I don't accept you as a client. Because if you don't have something to work towards that's real, immovable date, my high stakes coaching is just not appropriate for you. Sorry. There are many other coaches out there that can deal with, well, you will have 6 months to do what you want to do. Okay, do that. That's not me. I'm all about the clock. So why am I ranting? It's because we do make mistakes. We accept clients that, or we sell to people that maybe it wasn't the best thing to sell to for whatever reasons. And in both of those cases, I will tell you right now, my solution to the problem was I returned the money to my clients and said, thank you. I don't feel like I'm helping you as I could. Here's your money back. And then I felt good because I gave them their money back, and they've hopefully found somebody else.
All right. I feel like today is point counterpoint with us, Nathan, and I love it. I agree with you regarding how some people are not coachable, but I would put on the end of that, by me. This person is not coachable. Okay. All right.
That's fair.
Because I do believe that, you know what, and I'm gonna use an example of it's all about energy and around how your energies match. I know that sounds a little too woo-woo for some people, but you're looking for somebody who has urgency and someone who's malleable and willing to take on new ideas and such, right? That's perfect. Could be another coach out there who's like, bring it on, buddy. I'm ready to go toe to toe with you. And I will be that person who's going to, right, like bulldoze you. And that's what that person needs, right? I'm not a bulldozer, and I'm not the right fit for everybody, because there are some people out there that need to be bulldozed. But I think everyone is coachable if they can find the right person, and that person is able to open up a willingness in them to make the shift. It goes back to what Kevin was saying in our comments. There's a gap there. And if they have to be willing to cross that gap with you. And if they aren't, then you're not the right person to be coaching them. And definitely walk away for sure.
Yeah, there's no question about it. But the way I kind of also look at it, one more distinction is that some people out there need to be kicked in their butts. They want to
100%.
be pushed. They want to be slapped around, metaphorically speaking. I'm not like that. I use
That's right.
love, care, and empathy when I'm coaching. Some coaches out there, I won't name names, nobody here today, they like to beat people up. And some people actually get motivated by that. But frankly, I don't want to work with somebody that needs me to kick at them literally in their butts to get them to do something.
I
It's not my
agree.
style.
I agree. I remember when I first started coaching women entrepreneurs. I mean, there are some, I don't want to call, let me not use the word needy without saying the word needy. Right? But you know what I mean? There are some, and I feel, oh gosh, I was just going to say, I think that sometimes women can be a little more needier than men. And I don't want to use the word needy in that space, but I can't think of a faster one. But here's what I'm saying. Women's characteristics are we are community based, we're very collaborative, and we want to work together, where men are like, oh, I got it. I got this. Right. Okay. So this is an energy thing. So when you think about that, I'm collaborative, that can come off as feeling needy or appearing needy. I don't want to do this on my own. I need your help with this. So
Right.
it is all about finding the right person. And boy, have we gotten off the topic of influence here. I'm sorry, Claudia.
No, this is all great. This is
But
superb.
it all comes down to, when it comes down to it at the bottom, finding the right person and then helping them see clearly what they need and how you fill the gap is just the most beautiful form of persuasion and influence that can be there. See, I tied it back in at the end,
I
Claudio.
love it. I absolutely love it. And what I'm going to do very quickly is, because while we are talking and talking and talking here, there have been some good comments coming in, and I'm going to do this slightly differently this time. Instead of bringing them in one by one, we've seen this one here already about the gap, and we've addressed this. Daniel also made a comment. What I have learned is get to know fast. And I think this is right on. This is right on. It's to basically, instead of qualifying, disqualifying your prospects. And that little distinction makes a lot of room for your productivity to actually go up, because one of the nicest analogies I once heard was, more than 20 years ago, was during the Palm Pilot times. And maybe some of you remember this nifty little PDA, it was called, the Personal Digital Assistant. It was the iPhone 4runner, right? The first device was like 99 or 199 bucks, and it just connected to your screen. And I started to program applications for that. And then I was hired by Palm as a programming instructor to fly all over the world and help other people to write apps for their platform. And my instructor at that time, right, I said, how is the competitive landscape over here? And he brought this analogy out that he said, look, I look at this as a huge cornfield. And we are all providing vertical apps, right? So it's like each one of us is just walking through the cornfield, and we grab as much corn as we can, and we don't bother the person left and we don't bother the person right, because it's all a nice match between our value, what we have to offer, and their need, what they need. So yeah, get to know fast. Brilliant. Don't hang on to deals that will never close. Another one, right? That people, they're just hanging on. Detachment. If anything, read some Buddhist texts and start to learn to detach, right? Break your attachments. Definitely. Kevin, persuasion needs to be customer focused, not profit focused or bonus focused. Oh, I love that. I love that. And anybody here, please jump in if you see something that triggers your thoughts, right? Co-production is an amazing way of taking everybody on the journey. Love this. Thank you, Dan. Kevin, motivation, not sure about the context that came up, but okay. Trust means different things to different people. I'd love to hear either Scottie or Susan's take on trust. Who wants to go with with your personal take on trust? How to establish trust, what trust means, and how you can leverage and use trust in a persuasive situation. Who wants to go?
Well,
Scottie, okay.
I'm happy to jump in on that. I guess I would look at trust two ways: trusting yourself and your skill set to know what you can offer. So trusting your ability to get to the right answer, get to an answer with whoever you're trying to persuade. And then also, I was going to shift also to ask, don't be afraid to ask for the order. You don't have to ask for the order aggressively, but it could be, so what is it that when you're talking to a client, what is it that you need to get to your decision, right? What would it take to get you to want to buy this car? What is it? So that you can really get a framework for where their head is at around either the service, the fee, and then you have an opportunity to maneuver with your confidence and trust in what you can do and your trust in what you can deliver to them. And as you are candid and realistic about it and honest about it, then you will automatically have set up the trust level with the client. So whether you turn a client away and they will come back to you, or they aren't ready now, but they still may come back to you immediately or within a year. I mean, I have people coming back to me often months later, sometimes years later, or even with referrals to people. It can be a very slow cycle for some sales. But again, once you have persuaded them that you are a legitimate source, a resource, once you've established that you're a legitimate resource for whoever you are pitching, then that sticks. And that's something that you can build on, I think, forever. And you have to be comfortable giving the bad news as well. I deal with a very, very personal subject for people. It's their ability to deliver information clearly in American English. And so some people take it very personally when they are told that what they said sounded funny or it wasn't what they meant. And when your customer has to learn to be able to hear the criticism as well as the accolades, because it's the criticism that's going to help move them forward. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's trusting yourself, trusting and develop the relationship, and then that's golden. Then you got it.
I love that. That is awesome, Scottie. And from my perspective, when I think about trust, I think about Franklin Covey's book, The Speed of Trust. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that work. They also have a program. One of my businesses measures the impact for people who go through that program, Speed of Trust. And when I think about the way Franklin Covey defines trust, is how safe can you make someone feel in what you are offering to them? That's why they call it the speed of trust, because it's about the authority that you have and the way that you, kind of like what you were saying, Scottie, your internal trust factor, that you are confident in what you bring and what you do, and then being able to convey that to the listener or the person that you're in communication with, that you want to trust you. It is all about the authority and expertise that you, not because you're the hero, right, Claudio? Not because you're the hero, but because you are the person who can guide them to safety. No, the reason, hey guys, if you're not getting yeses, audience, if you're not getting yeses, if someone says to you, I need to think about it, or maybe next quarter, maybe next year, maybe whatever, maybe I need to talk to, someone else about this. Just know that you have not built up enough trust, that this person is not feeling safe enough that if they make this investment, that they will get the outcome that you've painted the picture that they will get. And that goes, Scottie, that goes also for project managers and people who have huge projects that you're trying to get them to buy into it. You're asking people to change, which is the scariest thing in the world for anyone. because they don't know if they'll get the outcome. And the trust comes from you being able to communicate how they will be safe crossing that gap between where they are today and where you're asking them to go.
Yeah, and I like the word guide, just to interject for a second, like that depending on what your product is, for the audience, you may be guiding your customer to their next level or to a specific outcome. And you can't predict it all, but you can absolutely be a seasoned guide, right? So
100%. And if I could just also piggyback on that, because this whole hero's journey, being a guide versus the hero. If anyone has not read Donald Miller's book, it's called Story Brand, and you want to begin communicating in that way, that is an awesome framework. He walks you through every step of the way and how you have to construct your messaging and your content so that the customer is always the hero and you are the trusted guide with tons of empathy for them and that they're safe with you. So excellent book, and excellent framework.
There is one more thing I want to bring up about what Dan said on get to know fast and what we've just talked about here with trust. If you have trust and you've built trust with somebody you are trying to persuade or sell your services to, and you get to know, that doesn't necessarily mean you cross them off your list, throw them away, and go off to find your next cat. What that simply means to me is you have just gotten a no that tells you you have either not built up the value that you can provide to a point where they either say maybe or yes, or perhaps you've just blown your trust in the way you just presented to them. But I want you to think no just means perhaps. You should think of this as what auctioneers do. Auctioneers don't go for a yes. They go for a yes, they're leaving money on the table. So they go for the no, and then they come down. So just don't think no means it's the end. No just means you've hit a level, and now you can back it down to what they are comfortable with. And if you still can charge what you want to charge for whatever you're doing, you have a deal. So I just want everybody to realize that no doesn't mean no. It just means that's kind of, well, in sales, no is just the beginning of the sale, right? When somebody says no, you've heard that before, right? No is just an objection. No, it's too expensive. Okay, how much too expensive is it? And you start getting more details to find out what's really behind the scenes. So I'll leave it at that for today, and in case somebody else wants to say something, but no doesn't mean no.
I was just going to add, especially for startups too, like they're pitching. How do I get an investor? I need money now. You've got to be really consistent about who you are and what you do. And I look at investor relations, and this goes to what Scott Peak was saying about if you lose your trust, you've really lost it. And when you think about your investor relations for startups, you need to either affirm or correct perceptions, and you do that through consistency. And I think the same is true with being a good salesperson, being a good guide, that you've got to be authentic and consistent, and you will be rewarded for that over the long run. It may not always be in the near term, but for sure over the long run.
Mute, Claudio, mute.
Oops. What a great, great, great way to close out this message from Scottie here to close out this session on selling versus persuading. And PitchZone, we meet once a week, every Thursday, and usually we have our coaches here to help you with a specific pitch. So if you have a pitch, a 2-3 minute pitch that you would like to get feedback from us, we change our coaches from time to time. Every week there's another one coming in and we are rotating them. Go to pitchzone.live, fill out the form, and you'll be in. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, well, click on that little button down there, and I'll be super, super happy if I have one more subscriber on my YouTube channel. So thank you, all the coaches. Absolutely great, great work today. I love this session, how this was flowing. Thanks, everybody. out there in YouTube land. I think the applauding from our viewers is pretty clear. They enjoyed it as well, and I enjoyed all of your comments and your being interactive here with us. So tune in again next week. In the meantime, enjoy a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. See you again next week. Bye bye.